I texted my son is in the emergency room, and my wife replied, I'm busy with my parents having a barbecue. Can't leave right now. I stared at my phone in the hospital parking lot. My 12-year-old had just collapsed during soccer practice. Severe dehydration, the paramedic said. His lips were blue. Coach was panicking, and all I could think about was getting to my boy. I called her immediately, straight to voicemail. Then again, still nothing. A third time, declined. I rushed inside and found my son hooked up to an IV, looking pale and scared. Where's Mom? He whispered. I squeezed his hand and lied. She's on her way, buddy. But she wasn't coming. I knew that now. 20 minutes later, she posted an Instagram story. There she was, laughing with a margarita while my mother-in-law grilled burgers. The caption read, family first, family first. The irony made me sick. Then I heard it. In the video's audio clear as day, my mother-in-law saying, that kid's always being dramatic, probably faking it for attention. Weak, just like his father. My wife just laughed. Actually laughed at her own son being called weak while he was in the hospital. I sat there watching my son sleep, remembering every time they dismissed his needs. This wasn't the first time they'd called him too sensitive or said he needed to toughen up. See, here's what they didn't know. I'd been secretly paying their mortgage for 3 years after her dad lost his job. He was too proud to ask for help, so I quietly set up autopay from my business account. Their car payments, credit cards, even their health insurance all came from me. They thought her dad was some financial genius who'd turned his life around. Really, he was living off my dime while insulting my son. The doctor came by around 9 p.m. He's stable now, but you did the right thing, bringing him in quickly. Dehydration this severe could have been dangerous. While my son slept peacefully, I pulled out my laptop and connected to the Wi-Fi. Time for some financial housekeeping. First, their mortgage. 3 clicks and the autopay was canceled. The bank would send a notice in 48 hours. Second, the car loan on that BMW her dad loved bragging about. Authorization removed. 2 missed payments and they'd start repo proceedings. Third, their credit cards. All 5 of them tied to my master account. Revoked access with immediate effect. Fourth, their health insurance. The luxury plan I'd been covering as a family gift, gone. Fifth, their life insurance policies. Another monthly payment I'd been handling, canceled. Each cancellation felt better than the last. My son's steady breathing was the only sound I needed. The next morning, her dad called me screaming before I'd even finished my first cup of coffee. The bank says our mortgage payment was rejected. There must be some computer error or identity theft or something. No mistake, I said calmly, watching my son eat hospital pancakes with a genuine smile for the first time in 12 hours. What do you mean? How could this happen? We've never missed a payment in 3 years. I could hear my wife in the background, her voice rising in panic. Probably just now starting to realize the gravity of choosing a barbecue over her son's life-threatening medical emergency. Maybe ask your daughter where her priorities are, I said. While you were grilling burgers and calling my son weak and dramatic, he was fighting for his life in an emergency room. But our house, our cars, our credit cards aren't working either. Should have thought about that before dismissing a child's medical emergency for potato salad and beer. The silence on the other end was absolutely beautiful music to my ears. You can't do this to us, he finally sputtered, his voice cracking. Can't or won't? I asked coldly. My father-in-law's voice cracked. Please, you don't understand. We have other debts. Serious ones. Your money was the only thing keeping them away. Not my problem anymore. You don't get it. We borrowed money from people who don't take no for an answer. They're coming for their payment on Friday. Should have thought about that before calling my son weak. My wife grabbed the phone again, her voice pure panic. Listen to me. The people he borrowed from, they're dangerous. They threatened us. They said if we don't pay... I heard a car door slam in the background through her phone. Her father's voice went white. Oh God, that's their car. They're here 3 days early. I hung up, just pressed the red button, and ended the call. My finger hovered over the screen for like half a second, and then I turned my phone face down on the tray table. The nurse was coming in to check my son's vitals anyway, and I wanted to focus on what actually mattered. My boy was awake now, asking for more orange juice. His color was coming back. That's what I cared about. Dad? He said, looking at my phone. Who was that? Nobody important, buddy, I said. How are you feeling? He shrugged, the IV tube moving slightly with his shoulder. Better, I guess. My head doesn't hurt as much. He paused, then looked at me with those big eyes that always killed me. Is Mom coming? I felt my jaw tighten. She's dealing with some stuff at Grandma and Grandpa's house. Oh, he looked down at his juice. Did I do something wrong? What? No. Why would you think that? I don't know, he said quietly. Grandma always says I complain too much, that I should be tougher, you know? Maybe if I'd just kept playing, Mom would have... Stop. I put my hand on his shoulder. You did nothing wrong. You were seriously dehydrated. You could have died if Coach hadn't called 911. My voice came out harder than I meant it to. Don't ever think you need to tough it out when something's wrong, okay? That's not strength. That's stupidity. He nodded, but I could tell he wasn't totally convinced. Years of my mother-in-law's toxic garbage had already done its damage. The doctor came back around 10 a.m. with discharge papers and instructions for monitoring his fluid intake over the next few days. Keep him hydrated, make sure he rests, and if you notice any dizziness or confusion, bring him back immediately, she said, handing me a stack of papers. He's a lucky kid. You got him here fast. Thanks, Doc, I said. My phone had been phone buzzing nonstop in my pocket, but I ignored it. We got my son dressed and into the car, and honestly, the drive home was the most peaceful 20 minutes I'd had in months. He fell asleep in the passenger seat, his head resting against the window. I kept glancing over to make sure he was breathing okay. We pulled into the driveway around 11:30. No other cars there, thank God. I helped my son inside and got him set up on the couch with blankets, water, and the TV remote. Rest, okay? I'll make you some soup in a bit. Can I have the good soup, the one with the little stars? He asked. Yeah, buddy. Whatever you want. He smiled and closed his eyes, and I swear to God, that smile was worth every single penny I'd ever given to those ungrateful assholes. I went to the kitchen and actually looked at my phone for the first time since the hospital. 37 missed calls, 23 text messages, 6 voicemails, all from my wife and her father. The texts started out frantic. Please answer. This is serious. They're here. We need to talk now. Then they got angry. How could you do this to my parents? You're being cruel. This is not okay. And finally, desperate again. Please, I'm begging you, just call me back. I deleted them all without responding, started heating up a can of soup, the one with the little star-shaped pasta, and honestly felt pretty damn good about my life choices. My phone rang again. My wife. I let it go to voicemail, then it rang again and again. On the 4th call, I picked up. What? Oh, thank God, she said, her voice shaking. I've been trying to reach you for hours. You need to come over here right now. My dad's in serious trouble. No. What do you mean, no? These men are at the house. They're threatening him. They want their money, and if we don't pay them today, they said they'll take everything. The house, the cars, everything he uses for work. Sounds like a him problem. Are you serious right now? Her voice pitched higher, that tone she got when she was about to lose it. This is my father we're talking about. Yeah, the same father who called our son weak yesterday, while he was in the hospital. And you laughed. Silence. Then, I wasn't laughing at that specifically. Really? Because I have the video. I saved it before you deleted your Instagram story. Want me to play it back for you? That's not fair. You're twisting everything. I'm not twisting anything, I said, stirring the soup. I'm just done being the ATM for people who treat my kid like garbage. Our kid, she corrected. He's our son, and I'm sorry, okay? I should have come to the hospital. I know that now, but this is bigger than that. These men are dangerous. They have guns. My dad owes them $15,000 and they want it today. Then I guess he better find $15,000 today. He doesn't have it. You know he doesn't have it. That's why we need your help. I laughed. Actually laughed. My help? Where was your help yesterday when our son was scared and alone? Where was your concern then? I made a mistake. Is that what you want to hear? I made a terrible mistake, and I'm sorry. But right now, my father's life is in danger, and you're the only one who can fix this. Not my circus, I said. Not my monkeys. I hung up again and turned my phone off completely. The soup was ready, so I poured it into a bowl, grabbed some crackers, and brought it all to my son. He was awake, watching some cartoon I didn't recognize. Thanks, Dad, he said, taking the bowl carefully. No problem, bud. You need anything else? Nah, I'm good. He blew on a spoonful of soup, then looked at me. Dad, are you and Mom fighting? Kids are too perceptive, man. We're having some disagreements, yeah. Is it because of me? No, I said firmly. It's because of grown-up stuff that has nothing to do with you. You just focus on getting better, okay? He nodded and went back to his soup. I sat in the chair across from him, just watching him eat. Normal kid doing normal things. That's all I wanted for him. Not this toxic garbage about being tough and not showing weakness. Just a regular childhood where he felt safe to ask for help when he needed it. Around 2:00 p.m., I heard a car pull up outside, then doors slamming. I looked out the window and saw my wife getting out of her car, followed by her mother. Great, here we go. I met them at the door before they could knock. What do you want? We need to talk, my wife said. Her eyes were red and puffy. She'd been crying. Her mother stood behind her, arms crossed, looking like she wanted to murder me with her eyes. There's nothing to talk about. Please, my wife said. Can we just come in? For 5 minutes? I glanced back at the living room where my son was. He's resting. Keep your voices down. I let them in, closing the door behind them. We stood in the entryway. I didn't invite them further into the house. You need to help my father, my wife started. Those men left, but they gave him 72 hours. If he doesn't have $15,000 by Friday, they're taking his work truck and all his tools. That's his livelihood. He won't be able to work. Okay, I said. And? My mother-in-law's face turned red. And you need to give him the money. You've been helping us for years. Why stop now? Because you called my son weak while he was in a hospital bed fighting for his life. And my wife thought a barbecue was more important than being there for him. That's why. Oh, don't be so dramatic, my mother-in-law said, waving her hand dismissively. The boy is fine. Kids get dehydrated all the time. It's not like he was dying. He could have died. The doctor said so. Severe dehydration can cause organ failure, seizures, death. But you wouldn't know that because you were too busy grilling burgers and shit-talking a 12-year-old child. I will not be spoken to like this in your home, she said. Then leave, I said flatly. Nobody's forcing you to stay. My wife put her hand on my arm. Please, I know you're angry. I know I messed up. But this isn't about me or my mom. This is about my father's life. These are dangerous men. They will hurt him. Then I have a proposal, I said. I'll consider helping. Maybe. But first, you need to do something for me. Anything, my wife said quickly. Go in there and explain to our son why you chose a barbecue over his medical emergency. Look him in the eye and tell him why Grandma and Grandpa's cookout was more important than being with him when he thought he might die. My wife's face went pale. I can't. Why not? Because it's not, I didn't choose them over him. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because from where I'm standing, he called you 3 times. You declined his last call. You posted an Instagram story laughing and having fun while he was in the ER. So explain it to him. Help him understand. She looked at her mother, then back at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. I don't know what to say. Then I guess we're done here. I moved toward the door to show them out, but my wife pushed past me into the living room. My son looked up from his soup, surprised. Mom? He said. She stood there, fidgeting with her hands. Hey, sweetie, how are you feeling? Better, he said carefully. Are you okay? You look sad. I'm fine, baby. She looked back at me, pleading with her eyes. I shook my head. She was on her own. I wanted to say I'm sorry for yesterday. I should have come to the hospital right away. It's okay, my son said quietly. No, it's not okay, I said from the doorway. Tell him why you didn't come. My wife shot me a look, but I wasn't backing down. She turned back to our son. I was with Grandma and Grandpa, and they really wanted me to stay for the barbecue, and I thought you were fine, that it wasn't serious. But I called you 3 times, my son said, his voice small. I was really scared, Mom. I thought something was really wrong with me. I know, baby, and I'm so sorry. I should have answered. I should have been there. Why weren't you? He asked. It was such a simple question, but I could see it hit my wife like a truck. Did Grandma and Grandpa need you more than me? My wife's eyes filled with tears. No, of course not. You're the most important thing in the world to me. Then why didn't you come? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She literally couldn't find the words. How do you explain to your kid that you chose your parents' feelings over his actual well-being? You can't. Not in a way that makes sense. My mother-in-law, who had been standing in the hallway, apparently couldn't take it anymore. Oh, for heaven's sake. Honey, your mother was trying to keep the peace with family. Sometimes adults have to make hard choices. You understand that, right? So the cookout was more important than me? My son asked, his voice breaking. Nobody said that, my mother-in-law snapped. Stop being so sensitive. You're fine now, aren't you? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You're too dramatic about everything. Get out, I said. Right now. Get the hell out of my house. Excuse me? She said, turning to face me. You heard me. Leave now, before I call the police. My wife was crying now, ugly crying, the kind where you can't breathe right. Mom, please, just go. I'll call you later. I will not be thrown out like some kind of criminal, my mother-in-law said. You, she pointed at me, are tearing this family apart with your selfishness. The door is that way, I said, pointing. Use it. She huffed and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was heavy as hell. My son had set his soup bowl down and was staring at his hands. My wife was still standing in the middle of the living room, tears running down her face. I'm going to my room, my son said quietly. He got up, taking his blanket with him, and walked past both of us without looking up. I heard his door close softly down the hall. My wife looked at me. Are you happy now? You made him feel worse. I didn't make him feel anything. You did that all by yourself. I just made you actually face what you did instead of brushing it under the rug like you always do with your parents. What do you want from me? She shouted. I said I was sorry. I apologized. What more do you want? I want you to actually mean it. I want you to understand that your parents have been poisoning our son for years with their toxic nonsense about being tough and not showing weakness. I want you to acknowledge that their approval is more important to you than your own kid's emotional well-being. I want you to actually choose us for once instead of them. That's not fair. They're my parents. I can't just cut them off. I'm not asking you to cut them off. I'm asking you to set boundaries, to protect our son from their bullshit. But you won't, will you? Because you're terrified of disappointing them. She didn't answer. She just stood there crying. After a minute, she said, will you help my father or not? No. He could die. He could also stop gambling with loan sharks. His choices, his consequences. Fine, she said, her voice cold now. Fine, I'll figure it out myself. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I'm staying at my parents' house tonight. Good, I said. Take all the time you need. She left without another word. I stood in the empty living room for a minute, then went to check on my son. His door was closed, but I could hear him crying softly on the other side. I knocked gently. Hey, bud, can I come in? Yeah, came the muffled reply. I opened the door. He was lying on his bed, face down in his pillow. I sat on the edge of the bed and put my hand on his back. I'm sorry you had to hear all that. Is Mom mad at me? He asked without looking up. No, she's mad at me. And herself probably, but not you. None of this is your fault, okay? You need to know that. Grandma said I'm too sensitive. Grandma is wrong, I said firmly. Being sensitive isn't a weakness. It means you care about things. It means you're human. Don't ever let anyone make you feel bad for having feelings. He rolled over and looked at me. His eyes were red. Are you and Mom getting divorced? The question hit me hard, even though I'd been expecting it. I don't know, buddy. Maybe. We have a lot of stuff to work out. Is it because of me? No, it's because of me and her parents and a lot of complicated grown-up stuff that has nothing to do with you. I squeezed his shoulder. But no matter what happens between me and your mom, you're stuck with me forever, okay? I'm not going anywhere. He nodded and wiped his eyes. Can we watch a movie or something? Yeah, absolutely. Pick whatever you want. We went back to the living room and spent the rest of the afternoon watching some action movie he'd been wanting to see. Around dinner time, I ordered pizza. We ate it bedded on the couch, and for a few hours, things felt almost normal. Later that night, after my son had gone to bed, I turned my phone back on. The messages started flooding in immediately. More from my wife, a few from her father, and several from numbers I didn't recognize. Probably other family members who'd heard their version of events. I didn't read any of them, just deleted them all and went to bed. The next morning, Friday, I woke up to my phone ringing at 6:09 a.m. My father-in-law's name flashed on the screen. Against my better judgment, I answered. "What? Please," he said. His voice was rough, like he hadn't slept. "Please, I'm begging you. They took my truck last night, just took it right out of my driveway. They said if I don't have the money by tonight, they're coming back for more. They know where I live. They know where my wife is. Please, you should call the police." "I can't call the police. These aren't the kind of people you call the police on. You don't understand. They're connected. They'll hurt my family. Maybe you should have thought about that before you borrowed money from criminals." "I know," he shouted. "I know I screwed up, okay? I have a problem. I'm a gambling addict. I've been hiding it for years and it finally caught up with me. I'm sorry I called your boy weak. I'm sorry I've been a terrible grandfather. I'm sorry for all of it, but please don't let my mistakes get my family hurt." I sat up in bed, rubbing my face. "How much do you still owe them?" $8,000. They took my truck as a down payment. That was worth about $7,000 to them. But if I don't have $8,000 in cash by 8 p.m. tonight, they said they're coming for my tools, my equipment, everything. And probably worse, sell the BMW. "What? That BMW you love so much. The one I've been making payments on for 3 years. Sell it. That should get you close." I can't. That's my wife's car." "Then I guess you're screwed," I said, and started to hang up. Wait, okay, I'll sell it. But I won't get $8,000 for it. Maybe 6 if I'm lucky. Will you cover the rest?" I thought about my son. About how he'd asked if he'd done something wrong. About years of my mother-in-law's comments about being tough and pushing through pain. About my wife laughing while her mother called our boy weak. "Here's the deal," I said. "I'll pay the difference. But you have to do 2 things. First, you go to actual gambling addiction counseling. Real professional help. Not some church group or self-help book. Actual therapy." "Okay, yes, I'll do it. And second, your wife writes a genuine apology letter to my son. Not some half-assed, sorry you felt bad nonsense. A real apology where she acknowledges the specific things she said and takes responsibility for the damage they caused. And she has to mean it." There was a pause. "I don't know if she'll do that." "Then you better convince her, because that's the deal. Both of those things or you're on your own." "Okay," he said quickly. "Okay, I'll talk to her. Thank you. Thank you so much." "Don't thank me yet. You haven't done anything yet." I hung up and immediately felt exhausted. It wasn't even 6:30 in the morning. I got up and checked on my son. He was still asleep, curled up with his favorite pillow. I stood in his doorway for a minute, just watching him breathe. This is what mattered. Him being safe, healthy, and not growing up thinking he had to be tough all the time. Around 10 a.m., my father-in-law called again. "I sold the car, got $6,000 for it. Can you Venmo me the other 2? Did your wife write the letter? She's working on it. No deal. Both things or nothing." Come on, man. These guys are serious. I don't have time for her to write some essay. That's your problem to figure out. Get the letter done, get into counseling, and I'll send the money. Otherwise, find another way. I hung up again. An hour later, my wife called. "What the hell are you doing? My dad needs that money now. You're literally holding his life hostage over some letter? Tell your mother to write the letter." Simple. She won't do it. She says it's manipulative and she shouldn't have to apologize for trying to teach our son to be strong. Then I guess your dad is out of luck. You are being incredibly cruel right now. Do you understand that? My father could get hurt or worse, and it'll be your fault. "No," I said calmly. "It'll be his fault for gambling with loan sharks, and your mother's fault for being too proud to admit she was wrong. Don't put this on me." "I can't believe you," she said, her voice shaking. "This is my family, and that's my son. Your son too, supposedly, though you haven't acted like it lately." She hung up. The calls kept coming throughout the day. My wife, her dad, even my mother-in-law called once, though I didn't answer that one. At 4:09 p.m., my father-in-law called again. "Okay, the letter's done. My wife wrote it. Can you send the money now? Text me a picture of it." A minute later, my phone dinged. I opened the message and read the letter. It was written on fancy stationery in my mother-in-law's perfect cursive handwriting. "Dear grandson," it started. "I apologize if my words hurt your feelings. I was only trying to help you become a stronger person. I hope you can understand that sometimes adults say things that come out wrong. I love you very much and hope we can move past this. Love, Grandma." I called my father-in-law back. "This isn't an apology. This is a sorry you were offended. Try again." "What?" "No, come on. She wrote the letter. That's what you asked for." I asked for a genuine apology that acknowledges specific hurtful comments and takes responsibility. This is garbage. She's basically saying, "Sorry, you're too sensitive to handle my wisdom." Not good enough. She's not going to write another one. She's already furious that she had to write this one. Then I guess she cares more about her pride than your safety. Not my problem. I hung up. At 6 p.m., my wife showed up at the house. She didn't knock, just let herself in with her key. "We need to talk." I was making dinner for my son, chicken and rice. "Make it quick. We're about to eat." My mother isn't going to write another letter. She refuses. But my dad found another way to get part of the money. He sold some stuff, borrowed from a friend. He has $7,000 now. Please, just give him the last 1,000. Please. The loan sharks will be there in 2 hours. I stirred the rice, thinking, Where'd he get the other money? Does it matter? Yeah, it does. Because if he borrowed it from someone else, he's just kicking the problem down the road. She hesitated. He used his credit cards. Cash advances. It's fine. He'll pay them back. With what money? He doesn't have a job. His truck is gone. His tools are about to be gone. He'll figure it out. People do it all the time. I turned to face her. Your mom really won't apologize? She says you're using this situation to control her, that she won't be manipulated. Then no, I'm not giving them anything. You're going to let my father get hurt over this? I'm not letting anything happen. He made his own choices. Your mother is making hers. These are consequences. Sometimes people have to face them. She stared at me like she didn't know who I was. I don't even recognize you right now. Good. Maybe you never really knew me to begin with. She turned and walked out. At 7:45 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. It was a photo of my father-in-law standing outside his house, looking terrified. Two men in dark clothes stood nearby, their faces deliberately out of frame. The message said, "Last chance." I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I opened my banking app. I sent $10,000 directly to the account number my father-in-law had given me days ago when he'd first tried to explain the situation. Not $2,000, not $8,000. $10,000, enough to cover the full debt with a little extra. Then I sent a text to my father-in-law. Paid in full. You're welcome. Don't ever contact me again. Get help for your gambling or next time you're on your own. I blocked his number, blocked my mother-in-law's number. Then I went back to the kitchen where my son was waiting. Sorry, bud. Let's eat. Is everything okay? He asked. Yeah, I said. Everything's fine. We ate dinner together and I didn't tell him about any of it. He didn't need to know. Later that night, my wife called. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. What? My dad just told me what you did, she said. Her voice was different, quieter. You paid the whole thing. You didn't have to do that. No, I didn't. Then why did you? Because despite everything, I'm not actually going to let someone get hurt if I can prevent it. But this is the last time. You understand? I'm done being the bank for your family. I'm done with your mother's toxic bullshit. I'm done with all of it. I know, I get it. Do you? Because it seems like you're always going to choose them over us. She was quiet for a minute. Then she said, "Can I come home?" That depends. Are you ready to actually choose your son over your parents? Are you ready to set real boundaries with them? Or are you just coming back because the crisis is over? I don't know, she said honestly. I don't know how to do this. They're my parents. I've spent my whole life trying to make them happy, trying to be what they wanted. I don't know how to just stop. Then maybe you need help figuring that out, therapy or something. Because I can't keep doing this. Our son can't keep doing this. He asked me today if he matters less than a cookout. Do you understand how much that hurts? She started crying. I know I messed up. I've been messing up for a long time, haven't I? Yeah, I said. You have. Can we fix this? I don't know. Maybe. But you need to actually want to fix it. You need to put our son first. No more excuses. No more defending your mother when she says horrible things. No more choosing their feelings over his well-being. Okay, she said. I'll try. I swear I'll try. Trying isn't good enough. You have to actually do it. Then I'll do it. But she didn't come home that night or the next night. She stayed at her parents' house and honestly I was relieved. I needed the space. My son needed the space. We fell into an easy rhythm, just the two of us. I made his meals, drove him to school, helped with homework. We watched movies and played video games. It was peaceful. On Monday morning, the school counselor called me. Hi, Mr. Wilson. I wanted to follow up on our conversation from last week. How is everything going at home? Right. I'd called her after the hospital incident. It's been a rough week, honestly. My wife and I are having some issues. I was hoping we could schedule some sessions for my son. He's been through a lot lately. Of course, I have an opening tomorrow afternoon. Would that work? Perfect. Thank you. Tuesday afternoon, I picked my son up early and took him to his counseling session. He was nervous, fidgeting with his backpack straps as we walked through the school hallways. What if she asks about mom? He whispered. Then you tell her the truth. She's there to help, okay? You don't have to hide anything. The session lasted 45 minutes. When my son came out, he looked lighter somehow. How was it? I asked. Good, I think. She's nice. She asked a lot of questions about grandma and the stuff she says. We got ice cream on the way home, and for the first time in days, I saw him smile for real. Not a forced smile, not a trying to make me feel better smile, but a genuine, a kid happy about ice cream smile. That evening, my wife showed up again. She knocked this time instead of using her key. I let her in. I've been thinking, she said, about everything you said. You're right. I've been prioritizing my parents over you and our son for too long. I'm scared of losing their approval, and that fear has made me a bad mother. I didn't say anything, just waited for her to continue. I want to fix this. I want to be better. I called a therapist today and scheduled my first appointment for Thursday. It's a woman who specializes in family dynamics and codependency. I'm going to work on myself. That's good. I said, that's a start. Can I see him? Our son. He's in his room. Go ahead. She went down the hall and I heard her knock softly on his door. I couldn't hear what they said, but after about 10 minutes, she came back out. Her eyes were red again. He's so guarded with me. He wouldn't even look me in the eye. What did you expect? You chose a barbecue over him when he was in the hospital. That's not something you just get over. I know. I told him I was sorry. I told him I was going to do better, but I don't think he believes me. Then prove it. Show him over time. Words don't mean anything if your actions don't back them up. She nodded and left. Over the next few weeks, things started to shift. slowly. My wife came by every few days, always asking permission first, always respectful of the space. She attended my son's soccer game the following Saturday and cheered loudly from the sidelines. She started bringing lunch to school for him on Wednesdays, his favorite sandwiches from that deli he liked. She also started therapy and stuck with it. I know because she'd tell me bits and pieces when she visited. My therapist says I have this pattern of people-pleasing that goes back to childhood. My parents were always critical, always telling me I needed to be better, do more. So I've spent my whole life trying to earn their love instead of just expecting it as a given. Yeah, I can see that, I said. We were sitting on the porch one evening while my son did his homework inside. It explains a lot about how you interact with them. She says I need to set boundaries, actually tell them no sometimes, but I don't know how. Every time I think about it, I feel sick. That's the codependency talking, but you'll get there. It takes time. 2 months in, she asked if we could try marriage counseling together. I agreed, mostly because I could see she was genuinely trying. Our first session was awkward as hell. The counselor, Dr. Patel, was this older woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. She didn't let us dodge the hard questions. Tell me about the hospital incident, she said, and we did. My wife cried through most of it, admitting things I don't think she'd even fully acknowledged to herself before. I was so worried about disappointing my parents that I forgot I was disappointing my son. I forgot I was his mother first. And now? Dr. Patel asked. What would you do differently? I'd leave immediately. I'd tell my parents I had to go and I wouldn't let them guilt me into staying. Dr. Patel looked at me. Do you believe her? I want to, I said honestly, but I need to see it play out in real situations before I fully believe it. Fair enough, Dr. Patel said. We had sessions every week for the next month. We talked about boundaries, communication, my wife's relationship with her parents, my tendency to shut down emotionally when I'm angry. It wasn't easy, but it was progress. Around month 3, my mother-in-law called my wife and demanded she come over immediately for some family emergency. My wife called me afterward, her voice shaking but proud. I told her no. She wanted me to drop everything and come help her reorganize her closet. Said it was urgent. I told her I had plans with you and our son, and I couldn't make it. She got mad, said I was choosing you over family. I told her you and our son are my family and her closet could wait. How do you feel? I asked. Terrified. But also kind of good? Is that weird? No, that's exactly how you're supposed to feel. My father-in-law, true to his word, had been attending gambling addiction meetings. He sent me updates every few weeks, just short emails letting me know he was still going, that he'd been sober from gambling for X number of days. He never asked for money or responses, just updates. After 3 months, he asked if he could write a letter to my son, not to apologize because he'd tried that before, but just to tell him he was working on being better. I thought about it for a day, then agreed, with the condition that the letter couldn't ask for forgiveness or expect a response. The letter arrived a week later. My son read it at the kitchen table while I watched. It was simple and honest. Dear grandson, I want you to know that I'm working on myself. I've been going to meetings to help with my gambling problem, and I'm learning a lot about why I made the choices I did. None of those reasons excuse what I said to you or how I made you feel. You were never weak. You were never dramatic. You were a kid who needed help, and I was too caught up in my own problems to see that. I don't expect you to forgive me or even respond to this letter. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better, and that I'm sorry. I hope someday I can be the grandfather you deserve. My son folded the letter carefully and put it in his desk drawer. Do you want to write back? I asked. Not yet, he said. Maybe later. Is that okay? That's perfect, bud. You don't owe him anything. Take all the time you need. 6 weeks into therapy, my wife's therapist suggested she might want to consider limiting contact with her mother until she'd done more work on her boundaries. My wife agreed and told her mother she needed some space. The reaction was exactly what you'd expect. My mother-in-law called my wife dozens of times, left angry voicemails, sent long text messages about betrayal and ungrateful children. She even posted on Facebook about how some children abandon their parents when they need them most. My wife showed me one of the texts that said, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? By choosing that man over your own mother? You're making the biggest mistake of your life. What are you going to do?" I asked. Nothing, my wife said. My therapist says responding will just fuel her need for drama, so I'm going to let her be angry. It's not my job to manage her emotions. That was huge. I told her I was proud of her, and I meant it. Around week 8, my mother-in-law showed up at my sister's house, where I'd been staying with my son for a few weeks to give everyone space. She must have found out somehow where we were. My sister called me at work. "Your mother-in-law is here. She's demanding to see your son. Don't let her in. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I left work early and drove straight there. When I arrived, my mother-in-law was standing on the front porch, arguing with my sister through the screen door. "I have a right to see my grandson," she was shouting. "Actually, you don't," I said, walking up behind her. She whirled around. "You, this is all your fault. You've turned my daughter against me. You've kept my grandson from me. Nobody's keeping anyone from anyone. Your grandson doesn't want to see you. You called him weak. During a medical emergency, you've spent years telling him his feelings don't matter. Why would he want to see you? I was trying to help him, to make him stronger. By tearing him down? That's not how strength works. That's how you create trauma. Don't you dare lecture me on parenting. I raised 4 successful children. Did you? I asked. Because your daughter is in therapy trying to undo years of codependency you instilled in her, and your husband is a gambling addict who almost got himself killed. That doesn't sound like successful parenting to me. Her face turned red. How dare you? Get out of my way. I'm going inside to see my grandson. No, you're not. I stepped between her and the door. You're going to leave right now, and you're not coming back until you take real accountability for the harm you've caused. Not a fake apology, not a sorry you felt bad. Real, genuine acknowledgement of what you did wrong. I haven't done anything wrong. Then we're done here. Leave or I'll call the police for trespassing. She stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to decide if I was bluffing. I wasn't. Finally, she turned and stormed off, but not before yelling, "You're vindictive. You're destroying this family." The family was already destroyed, I called after her. I'm just refusing to pretend it's fine. My sister came out after she drove away. Wow, she's something else. Yeah, tell me about it. I went inside to check on my son. He'd been in the basement playing video games with my nephew, but apparently they'd heard some of the shouting. Was that Grandma? He asked. Yeah. Is she mad at me? She's mad at me. And herself, probably, though she doesn't realize it yet. But none of that is your fault, okay? He nodded, but I could tell he was upset. My sister made us all dinner that night, and we tried to keep things light. But later, when I was tucking my son into bed, he said, "Dad, do you think Grandma will ever say sorry for real?" I don't know, bud. Some people have a hard time admitting when they're wrong. It doesn't mean you did anything to deserve how she treated you. I know, I just wish she could see it. Me too. That weekend, my wife completed 6 weeks of therapy and asked if we could meet to talk. We went to a coffee shop, neutral territory. She looked different, lighter, more confident somehow. I've been working through a lot in therapy, she said, understanding the patterns I learned from my parents, how their conditional love taught me that I had to earn affection by being perfect and never disagreeing with them, how I passed that same toxicity onto our son without even realizing it. It takes guts to face that, I said. I want to try again, with you, with our marriage. But I need you to know that I'm setting real boundaries with my parents now. My mother and I aren't speaking, and that might continue for a while. My dad and I talk occasionally, but I've made it clear that any relationship we have depends on him respecting my boundaries and continuing his recovery. And what about our son? Him first, always, no matter what. That's my promise to you. I know I have to prove it, and I will, but I need you to give me the chance. I thought about it, about the past few months, about the therapy, the changed behavior, the genuine effort. Okay, we can try, but we keep doing the counseling together. And if you slip back into old patterns, I'm out. I won't put our son through that again. Fair, she said. I can live with that. We started slowly. She moved back in, but we kept separate bedrooms for a while. We went to marriage counseling every Tuesday evening. Family dinners became a regular thing, just the 3 of us. My wife attended every single one of my son's soccer games and school events. She never missed one, not for her parents, not for anything. She proved over and over again that she meant what she'd said. My son started to trust her again, gradually. It wasn't overnight, but little by little, he'd open up more, share more, laugh more around her. By month 4, they were joking around like they used to. My father-in-law kept sending his update emails. At the 6-month mark, he asked if he could meet for coffee. Just him and me, no agenda. I agreed, curious. We met at a diner halfway between our houses. He looked different, older maybe, but also healthier. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. "What did you want to talk about?" "I wanted to thank you for paying that debt, for giving me a reason to get my life together, and for not completely cutting me out of my grandson's life. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I'm not a monster." "I know, but still, thank you." He paused, stirring his coffee. "I've been clean from gambling for 6 months now. I got a job doing construction work for a friend's company. It doesn't pay much, but it's honest work. I'm paying off those credit cards slowly. And I'm learning about why I turned to gambling in the first place. Control issues mostly. Childhood stuff. Good for you, I said, and I meant it. I don't expect forgiveness from you or from my grandson, but I wanted you to know I'm trying to be better, for what it's worth. It's worth something, I said. Keep doing the work. That's all anyone can ask. We talked for another hour about neutral things. Sports, work, the weather. It wasn't a friendship or anything close to it, but it was civil, human. That was enough. My mother-in-law, meanwhile, continued to escalate. She started calling extended family members, telling them her version of events, how I'd financially abused her family, how I'd turned her daughter against her, how I was keeping her grandson from her for no reason. Several family members reached out to my wife with messages of support for her mother, which only reinforced my wife's decision. They only heard her side, my wife told me. They don't know about the hospital or the things she said to our son. And honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm not going to defend myself to people who won't even ask for the full story. That's growth, I said. Week 12 of marriage counseling, Dr. Patel asked us how we'd handle it if my mother-in-law showed up during a family event, demanding to be included. I'd ask her to leave, my wife said without hesitation. And if she refused, I'd call the police. My son's well-being comes first, always. Dr. Patel looked at me. How do you feel about that answer? I believe her, I said, and I did. By month 4 of working things out, we'd fallen into a good rhythm. Not perfect, but good, real. We moved back into the same bedroom, started going on date nights once a week. Remembered why we'd fallen in love in the first place? Underneath all the family drama and dysfunction, my son's therapy was going going well too. His counselor told me he was processing things in a healthy way, learning to identify and communicate his feelings instead of bottling them up. He'd even started calling his mother Mom again instead of her first name, which he'd started doing after the hospital incident. One evening, about 16 weeks in, my son asked if he was allowed to see his grandfather. "That's up to you, bud. Do you want to?" "Kind of. I read his letter again. He sounds like he's trying." "And Dad, you always tell me people deserve second chances if they're really trying to change." "That's true, but you don't owe him anything. If you're not ready, you don't have to." "I think I want to try. But can you be there?" "Of course." We set up a meeting at a park, neutral ground. My father-in-law showed up 10 minutes early looking nervous. When my son approached, you could see the relief on his face. "Hi," my father-in-law said. "Thanks for giving me this chance." "Hi," my son said, staying close to me. They talked for about half an hour, mostly surface stuff. School, soccer, video games. My father-in-law didn't try to force anything or bring up the past. He just listened, asked questions, and let my son control the conversation. At the end, my son said, "Thanks for coming, and for going to those meetings and stuff. I'll keep going," my father-in-law said. "I promise." We left, and on the drive home, my son said, "That was okay. He seems different. Good different or bad different. Just different. Like he's actually trying, you know?" "Yeah, I know." Over the following weeks, they met up a few more times. Always with me present, always brief. It wasn't a deep relationship or anything, but it was something. Progress. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law had stopped reaching out directly but was still spreading stories through the family grapevine. My wife's aunt called one day, her voice dripping with judgment. "I can't believe you're abandoning your mother when she needs you most, after everything she's done for you." My wife, for the first time ever, didn't back down. "Aunt Linda, did my mother tell you what she said to my son while he was in the hospital?" "Well, no, but did she tell you how she called a sick 12-year-old weak and dramatic?" "I'm sure she didn't mean, did she tell you how I chose a barbecue over my son's medical emergency because I was afraid to disappoint her?" Silence. "I didn't think so," my wife said. "I'm not abandoning my mother. I'm setting boundaries to protect my son. If she chooses to see that as abandonment, that's her choice. But I'm done explaining myself to people who won't even listen to the full story." She hung up, and I saw tears in her eyes, but also strength. "That was hard," she said. "But you did it." "Yeah, I did." At month 5, my wife's therapist suggested it might be time to try limited contact with her mother again, but only if certain conditions were met. My mother-in-law would need to acknowledge wrongdoing, commit to changing her behavior, and respect our boundaries going forward. My wife drafted an email outlining these terms. She sent it to her mother and waited. The response came 3 days later. It was long, defensive, and full of justifications. "I can't believe you're making me grovel for permission to see my own family. I've done nothing wrong except try to raise my grandson right. If you can't see that, then maybe we don't need a relationship at all." My wife read it once, then deleted it. "Well, that's that. How do you feel?" I asked. "Sad, but also relieved." I tried. She chose not to meet me halfway. That's on her, not me. Our marriage counseling continued through month 6. Dr. Patel was impressed with our progress. "You've both done significant work," she said. "The question now is whether you want to continue therapy or if you feel ready to move forward on your own." We decided to continue just once a month instead of weekly. Insurance covered most of it, and honestly, it felt good to have that neutral space to check in and address things before they became problems. By month 7, my son's relationship with my father-in-law had grown steady. They'd meet for lunch every other week, sometimes at a restaurant, sometimes just grabbing burgers and sitting in a park. My father-in-law was consistent, reliable, and never pushed for more than my son was ready to give. One day, after one of these lunches, my son told me, "Grandpa asked if he could come to my game next weekend." I said yes. "Is that okay?" "It's your call, bud. If you want him there, then he can come." My father-in-law showed up to the game and sat in the bleachers, not trying to sit near us, just watching. When my son scored a goal, he cheered louder than anyone. After the game, my son ran up to him, grinning. "Did you see that?" "I did. That was incredible." They high-fived, and I saw genuine joy on both their faces. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't what it could have been if none of this had happened, but it was real and honest, and that counted for something. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law's stubbornness cost her. She cut herself off from her own daughter rather than admit fault. She missed her grandson's birthday, his soccer championship, his middle school graduation ceremony, all because she refused to say, "I was wrong." My wife grieved the loss, worked through it in therapy, but she never wavered on her boundaries. "I gave her the chance," she'd say. Multiple chances, actually. She chose her pride over our relationship. That's her decision to live with. Month 10 rolled around. My father-in-law hit a year of gambling sobriety. He invited us to his 1-year anniversary meeting, a celebration in his recovery group. My wife and son both went. I went too, more as support. We watched him receive his 1-year chip, heard him speak about his journey, the mistakes he'd made, the work he still had ahead of him. "I destroyed a lot of relationships because of my addiction," he said to the group. "Some I've been able to start repairing. Others are gone for good, and that's on me. But every day I choose recovery is a day I'm choosing my family, even if that family looks different now than it used to. Afterward, my son hugged him, just walked right up and hugged him. My father-in-law's eyes filled with tears, but he didn't break down, just hugged back and said, "Thank you for giving me another chance." By month 12, life had settled into a new normal. My wife and I were solid, stronger than we'd been in years. My son was thriving, confident, no longer afraid to speak up when something was wrong. My father-in-law was in our lives in a limited but healthy way, consistently showing up and doing the work. And my mother-in-law? She'd dug in her heels so deep she couldn't find her way back if she wanted to. She'd isolated herself from her daughter, her grandson, most of her extended family who'd eventually heard the full story, all because she couldn't say 3 words. I was wrong. One evening, while my wife and I were cleaning up after dinner, she said, "Do you ever regret how everything happened? With my parents?" "No," I said honestly. "I regret that it had to happen, but I don't regret protecting our son." "Me neither," she said. "I just wish my mom could see what she's missing. He's such an amazing kid and she's choosing pride over knowing him. That's her loss, not ours." She nodded, wiping down the counter. "You know what's crazy? I'm happier now than I've been in years. Even with everything that happened, even losing my relationship with my mom, I'm happier. Because I'm not constantly trying to please people who can't be pleased. I'm just being a good mom to our son and a good wife to you. That's enough. That's more than enough," I said, pulling her into a hug. "That's everything." My son came into the kitchen then, asking if he could stay up an extra hour to finish a movie. We said yes, joined him on the couch, and watched it together as a family. No drama, no tension, no walking on eggshells, just us, doing regular family things. The movie was some superhero thing he'd been wanting to watch for weeks. About halfway through, during a commercial break, he looked at me and said, "Dad, I'm really glad things are better now." "Me too, bud. I was scared for a while that you and Mom would split up for real." My wife reached over and took his hand. "I'm sorry we put you through that. You shouldn't have had to worry about whether we'd stay together." "It's okay," he said. "I mean, it sucked, but you guys are trying now, I can tell." "We are," I said, "and we're going to keep trying. That's a promise." He nodded and went back to watching his movie, but I could see him relax into the couch cushions like he'd been holding tension he could finally let go of. When the movie ended, he went to bed without argument, actually brushing his teeth and everything. My wife and I stayed on the couch for a while after, just sitting in the quiet. "I was thinking," she said after a few minutes, "about my mom. What about her? Part of me keeps hoping she'll reach out, that she'll realize what she's missing and actually do the work to make things right. But another part of me knows she probably never will, and I need to be okay with that." "You don't have to be okay with it right away," I said. "It's okay to grieve the relationship you wish you had." "I know. My therapist says the same thing. It's just hard, you know? I spent my whole life trying to be the perfect daughter, and it was never enough. Now I've stopped trying, and she'd rather have no relationship than admit she was wrong." "That's not a reflection on you. That's all her." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "I know, but it still hurts." We sat there for a while longer, not talking, just being together. Eventually, we went to bed, and for the first time in over a year, things felt stable. Not perfect, but stable, real. The next few weeks passed in a kind of peaceful routine. My son was doing great in school. His grades had actually improved since all the family drama had died down. Turns out constant stress doesn't help with concentration. Who knew? My wife was still going to therapy, still working on herself, and I was just trying to be present, to be the kind of father and husband I'd always wanted to be. Then, about 3 weeks later, my father-in-law called. "Hey," he said, "I know this is probably overstepping, but I wanted to ask you something." "What's up?" "My wife, she's not doing well. Mentally, I mean. She's isolated herself from everyone. Won't leave the house most days. She's depressed, I think, but she won't see anyone about it. Won't admit anything's wrong." I didn't say anything at first. Part of me wanted to say that was her problem, that she'd made her choices. But another part of me, the part that still remembered her as the woman who'd welcomed me into her family years ago, felt bad. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "Nothing, really. I just thought you should know. And maybe if your wife wanted to reach out, even just a text, it might help. But no pressure." I know she burned that bridge pretty thoroughly. "I'll tell her," I said. "What she does with that information is up to her." "Fair enough. Thanks for listening." I hung up and sat with the information for a while. When my wife got home from work that evening, I told her. She listened without interrupting, her face going through about a dozen different emotions. "Is she actually depressed or is this manipulation?" she asked when I finished. "I don't know. Your dad sounded genuine, but I can't read minds." She bit her lip, thinking, "What do you think I should do?" "I think that's entirely your decision. I'm not going to tell you to reach out or to stay away. This is your boundary to manage." She nodded slowly. "Okay, I need to think about it." 2 days later, she sent her mother a text. Just a simple one. "Dad told me you're struggling. I'm sorry you're going through that. If you ever want to talk about what happened and take real accountability, I'm open to that conversation. But I'm not compromising on the boundaries I've set. Take care of yourself." The response came an hour later. "I don't need lectures from my own daughter. I'm fine." My wife showed me the text and laughed, but it was a sad laugh. "Well, I tried." "You did more than she deserved," I said. Maybe, but at least now I know. She'd rather be miserable and alone than admit she was wrong. That's her choice to make. Yeah, it is. She deleted the text thread and went to start dinner. The subject of her mother didn't come up again for a while. Life moved forward. My son had his 13th birthday party at a trampoline park with a bunch of his friends. My father-in-law came, brought a nice gift, and didn't overstay his welcome. It was good, normal, the kind of birthday a kid should have. At the party, one of the other dads pulled me aside. Hey, I just wanted to say, your son is a really good kid. My boy looks up to him. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. He's polite, confident, treats the other kids well. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. I thanked him again and watched my son bouncing with his friends, laughing and goofing around. No fear, no anxiety about being too sensitive or too weak. Just being a kid. That's all I'd ever wanted for him. The months kept passing. Month 14, 15, 16. My wife and I hit our 16th wedding anniversary and actually celebrated it. Went to a nice dinner, talked about the future, remembered why we'd chosen each other in the first place. Things weren't perfect, but they were good. Really good. My son started talking about high school, about trying out for the soccer team there. My father-in-law offered to help him practice on weekends, and my son agreed. They'd meet at a local field, just the two of them, working on footwork and strategy. It was nice seeing them build something real, together. One Saturday afternoon, I went to pick my son up from one of these practice sessions. When I pulled up, they were both sitting on a bench, water bottles in hand, just talking. My son was laughing at something my father-in-law had said. When he saw me, he waved and jogged over. Ready to go? I asked. Yeah, Grandpa was telling me about when he played soccer in high school. He was pretty good, apparently. That's cool. Did you have a good practice? Yeah, he's actually a good coach. Doesn't yell or anything, just explains stuff clearly. That's what good coaches do, I said. My father-in-law came over to say goodbye. Thanks for bringing him, he said to me. It means a lot. No problem. He enjoys it. I know I've said this before, but thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it. You're earning it, I said. Keep doing what you're doing. He nodded and headed to his car. On the drive home, my son was quiet for a bit, then said, Dad, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you think Grandma will ever apologize? Like, for real? Honestly, probably not. Some people can't admit when they're wrong. It's not about you or anything you did. It's about them. That sucks. It does. But you know what? You're doing great without her in your life. You're happy, healthy, doing well in school. You don't need her approval to be okay. I know. I guess I just thought family was supposed to stick together, you know? Family does stick together, but real family supports you, respects you, shows up when you need them. DNA doesn't make someone family. Actions do. He thought about that for a minute. So Grandpa is earning his way back? Yeah, he's showing up consistently, working on himself, respecting our boundaries. That's what real change looks like. Cool, I like having him around. Me too, bud. Me too. At home, my wife was making her famous lasagna, the kind that takes hours but is totally worth it. The kitchen smelled incredible. How was practice? She asked when we walked in. Good, my son said. Grandpa says I have a natural talent for defense. That's great, honey. Wash up. Dinner will be ready in 20. He headed upstairs and I helped my wife set the table. Your dad seems to be doing really well, I said. Yeah, he's been texting me updates about his recovery. He's at 18 months now, completely clean. Got a promotion at work too. That's good. Really good. It is. I'm proud of him. He's doing the work, you know? Actually changing, not just saying he will. Unlike your mom. Yeah, unlike my mom. She was quiet for a moment, stirring the garlic bread. I got another message from my aunt today, the one who called me a few months ago. What did she want? To apologize, actually. She said she'd talked to my dad and heard the full story about what happened. She felt terrible for judging me without knowing everything. Did you accept her apology? Yeah, she seemed genuine. And honestly, it felt good to have someone from that side of the family actually listen for once. That's progress. It is. Small steps, right? She pulled the lasagna out of the oven, and we called my son down for dinner. We ate together talking about his upcoming soccer tournament, about a project my wife was working on at her job, about whether we should get a dog. Normal family dinner conversation. No drama, no walking on eggshells. Just us being us. Later that night, after my son had gone to bed, my wife and I were sitting on the back porch with some wine. The night was cool, stars were out, peaceful. You know what's crazy? She said. What? A year and a half ago, I thought my world was ending. Thought I was losing everything. My parents, my marriage, my relationship with our son. But now I feel like I actually have a life instead of just performing one. What do you mean? I spent so long trying to be who my parents wanted me to be. The perfect daughter, never disagreeing, always available, always putting their needs first. I was miserable and didn't even realize it because that was just normal to me. But now, with boundaries in place, with therapy, with actually prioritizing our family, I'm happy. Like, genuinely happy. I'm glad, I said. You deserve to be happy. So do you. I know I put you through hell. The hospital thing, choosing my parents over our son, all of it. You had every right to divorce me and move on. But I didn't. No, you didn't. You gave me a chance to change, to do better. That's a gift, and I don't take it lightly. You earned the second chance. You did the work. Still are doing the work. She leaned over and kissed me. I love you. Thank you for not giving up on us. I love you too. We sat there for a while longer, just enjoying the quiet. Life had thrown us through the ringer, no doubt about it. But we'd come out the other side stronger, more honest, more real. And that was worth everything.